The rain hammered against the stained glass windows of the old chapel in Capitol Hill like it was trying to drown out the vows no one believed. Jonathan Hale stood at the altar, his hands trembling just enough to betray him, watching Alexander Hawthorne sign the contract with the precision of a man closing a business deal. In that moment, as the ink dried on paper that bound them for a year, Jonathan wondered if love could survive on signatures alone, or if it would bleed out like the storm outside. Seattle's perpetual drizzle had turned the city into a watercolor of grays and greens, the kind that made everything feel both alive and achingly distant. Jonathan had always loved it here, the way the fog rolled in off Puget Sound and wrapped around the Space Needle like a secret. At 28, he was a freelance graphic designer, piecing together a life from coffee shops in Fremont and late-night sketches in his cramped Queen Anne apartment. His days were a rhythm of deadlines and daydreams, the latter always circling back to one person, Alex Hawthorne. They had met 6 years ago at a house party in the University District, back when Jonathan was still navigating his way through art school and Alex was the brooding grad student in computer science who seemed to carry the weight of the world in his piercing blue eyes. Jonathan remembered the night vividly, the air thick with the scent of cheap beer and weed, indie rock pulsing from battered speakers. He had spilled his drink on Alex's shoe, a clumsy apology tumbling out before he could stop it. Alex had just smirked, that half-cocked smile that lit something deep in Jonathan's chest, and said, "It's fine." Accidents happen, but it wasn't fine for Jonathan. From that spill onward, Alex became the unfinished sketch in his mind, the one he kept refining in stolen glances and what-if scenarios. Now, standing in the vestry of this forgotten chapel, Jonathan adjusted his tie for the third time, the silk feeling like a noose. The marriage wasn't real, not in the hearts and flowers sense. Alex needed it for the optics, a shield against his conservative board of directors at Hawthorne Tech, the startup he had bootstrapped into a multi-million-dollar AI firm. "It's just a contract," Alex had said over takeout Thai in his sleek Belltown loft a month ago, his voice as steady as the rain pattering against the floor-to-ceiling windows. "1 year. You'll get $50,000 up front, plus expenses. We play the part at events. Keep it clean, and walk away friends. Friends." The word had lodged in Jonathan's throat like a fishbone, but he nodded, because saying no would mean losing Alex entirely, and that was a void he couldn't face. The officiant, a wiry woman named Clara with tattoos peeking from her clerical collar, cleared her throat. "Gentlemen, if you're ready." Alex stepped forward first, his 6'2" frame cutting through the dim light like a blade. At 32, he was all sharp angles and quiet intensity, his black hair cropped close, his navy suit tailored to perfection. He looked every inch the CEO, untouchable, the man who had turned down venture capital offers because he trusted his gut more than spreadsheets. Jonathan followed, his heart a drumbeat in his ears, and they exchanged rings that felt heavier than gold should. "I now pronounce you husbands," Clara said, her voice soft against the storm. No kiss, just a firm handshake that lingered a beat too long. Alex's palm warm against Jonathan's clammy one. As they signed the final papers, Jonathan caught his reflection in the window, hazel eyes wide with a mix of terror and triumph, the rain blurring the world beyond into something almost forgiving. They emerged into the downpour, umbrellas snapping open like dark wings. Alex's driver waited in a black SUV, the engine humming patiently. "Home?" the man asked, and Alex glanced at Jonathan, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. "Yeah, both of us." The word "both" settled over Jonathan like a blanket, warm and illusory. As the car pulled away from the chapel, weaving through slick streets lined with evergreens and neon-lit breweries, Jonathan stole a look at Alex, who stared out at the passing ferries on the Sound. His jaw set. This was it, the start of their charade. But in the quiet hum of the vehicle, Jonathan allowed himself a secret. He had loved Alex for years. A slow burn that started with that spilled drink and never quite flickered out. If this contract was a cage, at least it was one they shared. Their first week as husbands unfolded like a tentative rehearsal. Alex's loft in Belltown became their stage, a minimalist expanse of glass and steel overlooking the waterfront, furnished with mid-century modern pieces that screamed success but whispered solitude. Jonathan moved in with 2 suitcases and a potted fern he insisted on keeping, a green thumbprint of normalcy in the sterile space. "Make yourself at home," Alex said, handing him a key fob with the detachment of a hotel concierge. "Home." Jonathan repeated the word in his mind as he unpacked, hanging his sketches on walls that echoed with emptiness. Mornings were a dance of avoidance. Alex rose at dawn for runs along the waterfront, returning slick with sweat and rain, grabbing a protein shake before vanishing into his home office. Jonathan lingered in the kitchen, brewing pour-over coffee from beans sourced from a roastery in Ballard, the aroma filling the air like a plea for conversation. "Black?" he'd ask when Alex emerged, holding out a mug. Alex would nod, murmuring thanks without meeting his eyes, then retreat to screens glowing with code and projections. Jonathan understood the distance. Alex's world was algorithms and acquisitions, while his was colors and curves. But each clipped exchange chipped at him, a reminder that this was transaction, not tenderness. Evenings brought the performance. Their first public appearance was a gala at the Seattle Art Museum, black-tie funding for local queer youth programs, an irony Jonathan couldn't ignore. He dressed in a slim-fit tuxedo borrowed from a friend in the design collective, the fabric whispering against his skin as he fastened cufflinks shaped like abstract waves. Alex waited by the door, impeccable in midnight blue, a glass of scotch in hand. "You clean up well," Alex said, his gaze sweeping over Jonathan in a way that felt appraising rather than appreciative. Jonathan's pulse quickened. "So do you?" Ready to sell the dream, the event was a swirl of crystal chandeliers and whispered deals. The Olympic Mountains a shadowy backdrop through towering windows. They navigated the crowd hand in hand, Alex's grip firm but impersonal, like holding a briefcase. Jonathan laughed at the right jokes, leaned into Alex during toasts, even brushed a non-existent lint from his lapel in a gesture that drew approving nods. "You two are goals," a silver-haired donor gushed, clinking glasses. Alex smiled that polished smile, the one that closed deals, and murmured, "He's the best part of my life." The words landed like a stone in still water, rippling through Jonathan's chest. Best part. If only Alex knew how those syllables echoed in the hollows of his longing. Later, in the coat room, away from prying eyes, Alex loosened his tie and exhaled. "That wasn't so bad." Jonathan nodded, slipping into his overcoat, the wool heavy with damp from the night air. Yeah, we make a convincing pair. Alex paused, his fingers stilling on the knot. For a split second, vulnerability cracked through, his blue eyes softening. Thanks for this, John. Really, the nickname, casual and intimate, stole Jonathan's breath. He wanted to reach out, to trace the line of Alex's jaw and confess everything. But the moment passed like Seattle fog, ephemeral and gone. Back at the loft, they shed their roles with their clothes, retreating to separate corners. Jonathan scrolled through his phone in the guest room, now his official space, texts from friends buzzing with congratulations. How's married life? Spill. He typed back half-truths, hearts and emojis masking the ache. Across the hall, Alex's door clicked shut, the sound of punctuation on their evening. Jonathan lay awake, listening to the rain, replaying Alex's thanks. It was enough. For now. Or so he told himself as sleep finally claimed him. Dreams woven with what-ifs and the ghost of that handshake at the altar. The second month brought routine, a fragile scaffold holding up their facade. Jonathan threw himself into work, designing logos for a queer-owned bookstore in Capitol Hill and mood boards for an indie film set in the Cascades. The loft's second bedroom became his studio, canvases leaning against white walls, the air scented with turpentine and takeout. Alex noticed the changes during one rare shared dinner, pad thai from a street cart steaming between them. This place feels lived in, he said, twirling noodles. Jonathan shrugged, heat rising in his cheeks. Figured I'd contribute something besides my tax bracket. Alex chuckled, a low sound that vibrated through the marble island. Fair enough. That night, as thunder rumbled over the sound, Jonathan caught Alex lingering in the doorway of his studio, watching him blend digital layers on his tablet. What are you working on? Alex asked, stepping closer. Jonathan tilted the screen, explaining the film's color palette, moody blues for isolation, warm ambers for connection. Alex listened, head tilted, and for the first time, Jonathan saw curiosity spark in those guarded eyes. It's beautiful, Alex said softly, and Jonathan's heart stuttered. Beautiful. The word hung between them, heavy with possibility. But possibility was a tease. Alex's schedule intensified, board meetings bleeding into weekends, late nights punctuated by calls from investors in Silicon Valley. Jonathan filled the voids with walks through Pike Place Market, the clamor of fishmongers and flower stalls a balm for his solitude. He bought tulips for the loft's vase, crimson blooms against the steel, a silent offering. Alex noticed them one morning, pausing mid-sip of coffee. Nice touch, Jonathan smiled. But inside, the silence screamed, see me? Really see me? Their next event was a tech conference in South Lake Union, Amazon's shadow looming like a monolith. Alex's keynote on ethical AI, his voice commanding the auditorium, slides flickering with visions of a connected future. Jonathan sat front row, pride swelling despite the pretense. Afterward, at the networking mixer in a rooftop bar, champagne flutes clinking under string lights. A venture capitalist cornered Alex, all bluster and backslaps. Married life treating you right. Hawthorne, this one's a keeper, the man said, clapping Jonathan's shoulder. Alex's arm slid around Jonathan's waist, possessive in performance. Couldn't agree more. The touch burned through fabric. Electric and fleeting. Jonathan leaned into it, inhaling Alex's cologne, cedar and citrus, wishing the crowd would vanish. On the ferry ride home, the city lights fracturing on black water. Alex surprised him. "You were great up there." Kept the schmoozers at bay. Jonathan laughed, wind whipping his hair. Team effort. Alex's gaze held his. The ferry's hum underscoring the quiet. "It is, isn't it, for a heartbeat?" The contract felt like something more, a bridge rather than a barrier. But as they docked, Alex pulled away, the moment dissolving into the night. Nights grew longer, the rain a constant companion. Jonathan journaled by lamplight, words spilling like confessions. "I trace your shadow on the wall, wondering if you'd ever trace mine." He dreamed of Alex's hands, not in handshake, but in caress, waking with sheets tangled and heart racing. One evening, after Alex canceled a promised movie night for an emergency pitch, Jonathan wandered the loft alone, fingers trailing over Alex's bookshelf, tomes on quantum computing beside dog-eared copies of Whitman. Leaves of Grass. He pulled it down, reading lines about the body electric, tears pricking his eyes. Love was electric, yes, but it felt like a storm contained, waiting to break. By month's end, cracks appeared. Alex came home late. "Ty askew," scotch on his breath. "Rough day," he muttered, collapsing on the couch. Jonathan knelt, unbuttoning his shirt with gentle hands. "Talk to me." Alex's eyes shuddered. "Can't." Classified. The rejection stung. But Jonathan persisted, massaging tense shoulders. "We're in this together. Remember?" Alex sighed, leaning back. "Yeah. Together." The word was a lifeline, thin but taut. As autumn deepened, leaves carpeting the streets in gold and rust, Jonathan clung to these threads. He planned a weekend hike in the Olympics, packing thermoses of soup and maps marked with hidden viewpoints. "Clear your schedule," he texted Alex. The reply came hours later, trying. "Promise." Hope flickered, fragile as the ferns underfoot. Little did Jonathan know, across town in a dimly lit bar, Alex met with his ex, Marcus Reed, a sculptor with hands like clay and a smile that still haunted. "This marriage thing," Marcus said over whiskey, "it's killing you." Alex's laugh was bitter. "It's business." But as he drove home through sheets of rain, doubt not, was it? Or was Jonathan's quiet presence starting to rewrite the terms? Winter crept in on the heels of November winds, stripping the maples bare and turning breaths to visible ghosts on Belltown streets. Jonathan woke to frost-etching patterns on the loft's windows. The city below a mosaic of holiday lights strung like desperate stars. He brewed coffee stronger than usual, the bitterness a match for the season's edge, and left a mug by Alex's office door. No thank you came, just a clack of keys from within, a barrier of binary code. Their contract marriage had settled into a rhythm of polite estrangement. Performances flawless in public, but fraying at the seams in private. Jonathan told himself it was the holidays. The pressure of facades amplified by twinkling storefronts and carols piping from every corner. But deep down, he knew it was more. The slow erosion of his unspoken love against Alex's armored heart. The annual Hawthorne Tech holiday party loomed like a gauntlet, held at a waterfront venue in Elliott Bay, where waves lapped at pilings and the air smelled of salt and pine. Jonathan spent a day shopping in Pioneer Square, selecting a deep green velvet blazer that hugged his lean frame, paired with slim black trousers and polished loafers. Festive, he murmured to his reflection, practicing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Alex emerged from his room in a cashmere sweater the color of midnight, jeans artfully distressed. "You look," Alex trailed off, something akin to admiration flickering before he masked it. "Appropriate." Jonathan's stomach twisted. Appropriate. The word was a demotion from beautiful, but he'd take it. The party was a glittering affair. Executives in tailored suits, mingling with engineers nursing craft beers. The hum of conversation undercut by a jazz quartet's mournful sax. Alex navigated it like a pro, introducing Jonathan as my husband, the artist who's keeping me grounded. The endearment landed soft punches to Jonathan's ribs, each one blooming into bruised blue affection. They danced once, a slow sway to "What a Wonderful World," Alex's hand at the small of his back a brand through wool. "You're good at this," Alex whispered, breath warm against Jonathan's ear. The pretending. Jonathan's throat tightened. "Who says I'm pretending?" The question hung, unanswered, as Alex pulled away to greet a cluster of ECs, leaving Jonathan adrift in the crowd. He found solace at the bar, sipping a gin and tonic garnished with rosemary, when a familiar face approached, Elena Vasquez, a curator from the Fry Art Museum and an old client. "Jonathan Hale, as I live and breathe. Marriage suits you." Her hug was genuine, her dark eyes sparkling with mischief. They talked shop, her latest exhibit on queer abstractionists, his stalled graphic novel project, until Alex reappeared, arms slipping possessively around Jonathan's waist. "Stealing my husband?" Alex teased, but his grip tightened fractionally. A silent claim. Elena laughed. "Just borrowing. He's got stories that could fill a gallery." As she drifted away, Alex's fingers lingered, tracing idle patterns on Jonathan's hip. "Stories. Huh." The touch was casual, but ignited Jonathan like dry tinder. A spark he fanned in silence. Later, under the venue's awning as snow dusted the pier, Alex lit a rare cigarette, the flame illuminating his face in stark relief. "That was intense. Thanks for having my back." Jonathan shivered. "Not from cold." "Always." Alex exhaled smoke toward the bay, watching ferries cut through inky water. "You know, Marcus texted me today." The name dropped like a stone. Marcus Reed, the ex who had carved Alex open years ago with a betrayal that left scars Jonathan could only guess at. Said he saw our announcement in the paper. Jonathan's pulse stuttered. And Alex shrugged, stamping out the ember. "Just stirring ghosts." But the way his shoulders hunched spoke volumes. Ghosts lingered, cold and unbanished. Christmas Eve arrived with a deceptive calm. The loft strung with white lights Jonathan had draped over exposed beams. A fur from a U District lot scenting the air with resin. He cooked roast chicken with herb stuffing, cranberry relish from a recipe his mom had mailed from Portland, hoping the domesticity might thaw the ice between them. Alex arrived home early for once, shedding his coat with a weary sigh. Smells incredible. They ate by candlelight at the island. Silverware clinking softly. The only sounds besides the crackle of a playlist Jonathan had curated. Sufjan Stevens crooning about mystery and longing. To us, Jonathan toasted with red wine. Clinking glasses. Alex's eyes met his, blue depths swirling. To contracts that don't suck. Laughter bubbled up, genuine and rare, easing the knot in Jonathan's chest. After dinner, they exchanged gifts by the tree. The ornaments, glass orbs from Pike Place, catching firelight. Jonathan unwrapped a leather-bound sketchbook from Alex. The pages thick and creamy. A fountain pen nestled inside. "For your novel," Alex said, voice rough. "Saw you doodling characters last week." Tears pricked Jonathan's eyes. It was the first gift that saw him. "Truly." "Thank you." In turn, he gave Alex a custom print, a digital collage of Seattle's skyline reimagined as neural networks. Circuits blooming into evergreens. "Because your world and mine, they overlap more than you think." Alex studied it, fingers tracing the lines. "It's perfect for a moment." The air hummed with potential, the contract forgotten. But New Year's brought the fracture. They attended a countdown bash at a Capitol Hill club, bass thumping through fogged windows, bodies pressed in euphoric chaos. Jonathan lost Alex in the throng, emerging onto a balcony for air, where he found him locked in conversation with a lithe stranger, tall, with ink-black hair and a laugh like shattered glass. The man's hand rested on Alex's arm. Proprietary. Jonathan's blood ran cold. He recognized the type, the kind that promised escape from commitments. He slipped away before they saw him, nursing a drink inside until midnight struck, confetti raining like false joy. The kiss at countdown was perfunctory, Alex's lips brushing Jonathan's cheek amid cheers. "Happy New Year," Alex murmured, already scanning the crowd. Jonathan forced a smile. "You too," back at the loft. As fireworks bloomed over the sound, Jonathan retreated to his studio, the sketchbook open to a blank page. He drew Alex, not the CEO, but the boy from the party, vulnerable and open, tears blurring the lines. Love, he realized, was a canvas smeared with hope and hurt, and his was running dry. January's gray monotony amplified the distance. Alex dove deeper into work, his startup courting a major acquisition, meetings stretching into all-nighters. Jonathan's freelance gigs picked up a branding package for a queer health clinic in the Central District, but the loft felt cavernous, echoes mocking their union. One stormy Tuesday, Jonathan cracked. He cooked pasta carbonara, bacon sizzling like accusations, and waited. Alex stumbled in at 10, eyes shadowed. Long day. Jonathan set the plate down harder than intended. Every day's long. When do we get a real one? Alex froze. Fork midway. This is real. The money, the stability, it's what we signed for. Jonathan's voice broke. Is that all I am? Stability? Silence stretched, taut as wire. Alex sighed. John, don't make this complicated. Complicated. The word was a slap, and Jonathan fled to the balcony, rain soaking his shirt, sobs mingling with the downpour. The next morning, truce was called with coffee and apologies unspoken. But the seed of doubt sprouted. Jonathan started running, pounding pavement along the Burke-Gilman Trail, lungs burning as he outpaced his thoughts. Friends noticed lunch with Theo Lang, a barista poet from his art school days, at a cafe in Wallingford. You look haunted, Theo said, pushing a scone across Scarwood. Jonathan confessed fragments, the contract, the crushed turn cage. He's blind to it. Theo. To me. Theo squeezed his hand. Then make him see. Or walk. Walking wasn't an option. Loving Alex was woven into his veins. February's Valentine's loomed. A cruel joke. Jonathan planned low-key, reservations at a hidden gem in Fremont. Candlelit tables overlooking the canal. Alex forgot. Buried in pitch decks. The text came at 7, stuck late. Rain check. Jonathan sat alone, picking a duck confit, the wine sour on his tongue. He paid and wandered home through mist, passing couples entwined under umbrellas. In the loft, he left the uneaten box of chocolates on the counter. A chocolate heart cracked open. Alex found it at midnight, guilt etching his face. Shit. John. I'm sorry. Jonathan, curled on the couch with a book he wasn't reading, looked up. It's fine. Business first. The sarcasm dripped, and Alex winced. Let me make it up. He sat, close enough that their knees touched. Dinner tomorrow. Real one. Jonathan nodded, but the warmth was tentative, a flame guttering in wind. Spring teased with crocuses pushing through mulch in Gasworks Park. But their thaw stalled. Jonathan threw himself into his novel. Characters mirroring their lives, a designer bound to a tech whiz by ink and illusion. Pages filled, raw with his ache. Alex peeked one evening, reading over his shoulder. This is us, isn't it? The question was soft, probing. Jonathan's pen stilled. Inspired by. Alex's hand covered his, steadying. It's good. You're good. The praise lingered. A balm. But as Alex withdrew, Jonathan wondered if inspiration could bridge the chasm. By March, rumors swirled in Alex's circles, whispers of the acquisition faltering, board pressure mounting. He grew distant again, snapped sharper, silences longer. Jonathan endured, cooking comfort foods, chili bubbling with cumin, cornbread golden. One night, after a terse exchange over forgotten laundry, Alex snapped. Why do you push? This was supposed to be easy. Jonathan's retort flew. Easy for you. I'm the one falling. The admission hung. Electric. Alex's eyes widened, then shuddered. Falling into what? Pity. He stormed out, door slamming like thunder. Jonathan sank to the floor, sobs racking him. Falling into love. He meant, but the word stuck. Hours later, Alex returned, soaked and contrite, kneeling. I didn't mean that. Jonathan wiped his face. Then what did you mean? Alex's voice cracked. I'm scared, John, of this. Of messing up what's good. Good. The word was a lifeline, and Jonathan grasped it, pulling Alex into an embrace that blurred lines. They held each other as rain lashed the glass, hearts sinking in the storm. For the first time, the contract felt like a cocoon, not a cage, fragile, but holding. April showers painted Seattle in erratic bursts. Cherry blossoms carpeting sidewalks in pink confetti, only to be beaten down by sudden gales. Jonathan woke to the scent of damp earth wafting through cracked windows, the loft stirring with tentative life. The embrace from March lingered like a half-remembered dream, a shift in their orbit that brought Alex closer in fleeting moments, shared glances over breakfast, a hand brushing his in the kitchen. But fear was a stubborn tenant. and Alex's walls rebuilt themselves overnight. Higher each time. Jonathan navigated the minefield with care, his love a quiet rebellion against the chill. He poured it into small acts, leaving notes in Alex's briefcase with doodles of circuits entwined with vines, brewing his favorite oolong when deadlines loomed. Responses varied, a text with a thumbs-up emoji, or once, a sticky note back, thanks, means something. Those words fueled him, embers in the gray. The acquisition talks heated up, turning Alex into a ghost haunting his own home. Board meetings devolved into shouting matches. He confessed one rare evening over leftover stir-fry, his fork stabbing rice like enemies. They want me to sell out principles for a quick buck. Ethical AI? Laughable now. Jonathan listened from across the island, chin on hands, hazel eyes steady. Then don't. You're the one who built it. Alex looked up, surprise softening his edges. Easy to say. Jonathan reached over, covering his hand. Not easy. True, the touch grounded them, a tether in tumult. That night, they watched an old noir on the couch, legs tangled under a throw blanket, Alex's head eventually dropping to Jonathan's shoulder. Sleep came heavy, dreamless, the weight a comfort Jonathan savored until morning light. Public duties persisted. A cocktail hour at the Museum of Pop Culture for a tech art collab. Jonathan donned a silk shirt in slate blue, the fabric cool against his skin, while Alex fidgeted in a linen blazer. Tie abandoned. Hate these, he grumbled in the elevator. Jonathan straightened his collar. You shine in them. Trust me. The event buzzed with hybrid creatives, coders and ironic teas, mingling with sculptors nursing IPAs. They circulated as a unit. Alex's arm around Jonathan's shoulders drawing murmurs of approval. Power couple, a developer quipped, and Alex's laugh rang true, pulling Jonathan into the warmth. Midway, in a side gallery of glowing installations, Alex pulled him aside behind a holographic display flickering with data streams. Dance with me. No music but the hum of servers. Yet they swayed, foreheads touching, breaths sinking. This feels real sometimes, Alex whispered, vulnerability cracking his voice. Jonathan's heart clenched. It is real. To me. Alex's fingers tightened on his waist, eyes searching. John, the ellipsis stretched, pregnant with unsaid truths, until a colleague interrupted, shattering the bubble. But the echo remained, a pulse in Jonathan's veins. Spring deepened, and with it, Jonathan's novel gained momentum, chapters stacking like bricks toward catharsis. He shared snippets over coffee runs to Analog in Capitol Hill, where baristas knew their orders, flat white for him. Americano for Alex. Your protagonist, he's me, isn't he? Alex asked one drizzly afternoon, rain sheeting the cafe's windows. Jonathan nodded, stirring foam. Pieces of us both. The longing, the walls. Alex sipped, gazed distant. Longing's dangerous. Jonathan leaned in. So, is ignoring it. The conversation veered to safer ground, trail runs in Discovery Park, but the seed was planted, roots delving. Then came the betrayal, sharp as shattered glass. It unfolded on a Saturday in May, sun rare and golden, coaxing them to a farmer's market in Ballard. Stalls brimmed with heirloom tomatoes and lavender bundles, fiddles lilting over the crowd. Jonathan browsed cheeses, haggling with a vendor from Orcas Island. When Alex's phone buzzed incessantly, he silenced it. But Jonathan glimpsed the name, Marcus. X, he asked lightly, handing over a wedge of aged Gouda. Alex pocketed the device. Old habit. Ignore, but unease coiled in Jonathan's gut. A serpent stirring. That evening, as Jonathan sketched at the island, Alex excused himself for a quick call on the balcony. Voices carried, muffled by wind, laughter, low and intimate. That missed that. Yeah, the loft's the same. But Jonathan's pencil snapped, lead splintering. He rose, drawn like moth to flame, peering through glass doors slick with evening dew. Alex paced, phone to ear, profile illuminated by the dying sun. No, it's not like that. Just a deal. Come over sometime. The words eviscerated, a blade to the contract's heart. Marcus. The ghost invoked. Invited. Jonathan retreated to his studio, door clicking shut like a verdict. He paced, mind reeling, the touches, the almost confessions, misdirection, when Alex knocked hours later. Voice tentative. Jonathan feigned sleep. Sheets a shroud. Morning brought avoidance. Alex leaving early for a site visit. Jonathan diving into revisions with furious strokes. Days blurred into a Cold War. Silences weaponized. Publicly, they performed a ribbon cutting for a queer center in the International District. Smiles camera ready. Privately, Jonathan withered, love curdling to resentment. The confrontation brewed during a weekend escape to Alex's cabin in the Cascades. A last-ditch bid for reset amid pine-scented air and crackling fires. The drive wound through evergreens. Radio humming folk tunes. Tension thick as fog. We need this, Alex said, gripping the wheel. Jonathan stared at passing peaks. Do we? The cabin was rustic charm, log walls. A stone hearth, overlooking a lake mirror still. They unpacked and strained quiet. Jonathan chopping vegetables for stew while Alex built a blaze. Dinner by firelight thawed superficially. Wine loosening tongues. Remember that party? Alex mused, swirling Merlot. You spilled on me, and I thought, this guy's chaos in the best way. Jonathan's laugh was hollow. Chaos. Yeah, emboldened by alcohol. He pressed. What's with Marcus? Alex stiffened, glass pausing. Just catching up. Old friend, lies hung heavy. Smoke like. Jonathan set down his fork. Friends don't sneak calls. Don't make plans. Alex's eyes flashed. Jealous. The word ignited. Of a ghost? No. Hurt by the man who promised transparency. Accusations flew. Voices rising over the lake's lap. This was business, Alex shouted, standing. You knew that. Jonathan surged up, chest heaving. Business doesn't kiss like that. Doesn't hold like it means something. Alex recoiled. I never, you did. Every almost moment. Tears tracked Jonathan's cheeks. I've loved you since the spill. Alex. Through all of it. And you're throwing it away for what? Comfort in the past. The confession detonated. Raw and ruinous. Alex paled, whispering, loved. Past tense. Jonathan shook his head. Breaking. Present. Painful present. Silence crashed, broken only by embers popping. Alex reached, then dropped his hand. I can't. Marcus gets me without strings. The admission gutted. Betrayal blooming black. Jonathan fled to the porch. Night air biting. Stars and different witnesses. He sat on the steps. Knees to chest. Sobs muffled in arms. Love, he realized, wasn't a bridge. It was a tightrope over abyss. And Alex had cut the line. Dawn found them civil but shattered, packing in clipped efficiency. The drive home was funeral silent, Seattle's skyline mocking with its steadfast gleam. Back in the loft, Jonathan moved to the guest room fully, suitcases half unpacked like accusations. Work became refuge, his novel's climax mirroring the rift. Hero confronting the lie. Friends rallied, dinners with Theo, where he poured out the poison. Theo's hugs fierce. You're enough. John. Always were. Alex tried amends. Flowers from Pike Place. Left with notes, talk. Jonathan returned them. Unread. Public events became minefields. Touches obligatory. Eyes averted. June's solstice sun mocked the chill. Pride parades thumping through streets while their marriage hollowed. Jonathan marched alone one afternoon. Rainbow flags whipping. Bass vibrating his bones. Amid the joy, grief crested, for the love unrequited. The contract a cruel joke. The crisis peaked at a July barbecue for Alex's team. Backyard of a Fremont house overlooking the canal. Laughter rang. Grills smoking with burgers and halibut. But Jonathan nursed a beer in shadows, watching Alex charm the crowd. Marcus arrived uninvited. Fashionably late. His presence a slap. Tall, with tousled curls and a tattooed forearm. He clapped Alex's back. Hug lingering. Jonathan's vision tunneled. He slipped away, vomiting in the host's azaleas, while bitter as betrayal. He called a car, texting Alex, done. The loft was dark when he arrived, but Alex followed soon after, face ashen. John. Wait. Jonathan whirled. Voice steel. Wait for what? Your side piece to tire of you. Alex recoiled. It's not. It is. I saw. Felt at every dodge glance. Tears welled anew. I gave you everything. My heart. On paper and off. And you. Alex crumpled, sinking to the floor. I'm broken. John. Marcus was safe. Familiar hurt. You. You're the risk that terrifies. Confession ricocheted. But too late. Jonathan knelt, cupping his face. Terrify me back. Or let go. Alex's sob broke free. I don't know how. They clung then. Wreckage of their making. The storm outside mirroring the one within. Healing's path forth. Divorce papers drawn. Or reconstruction. Jonathan chose space. Crashing with Theo. The loft a mausoleum of memories. Days bled into weeks. Therapy sessions in a Belltown office unpacking layers. His people-pleasing roots from a fractured childhood. Alex's armor forged in a coming out that cost family ties. Letters exchanged. Raw missives airmailed like lifelines. Jonathan's on love's fragility. Alex's on regret's weight. August heat wave baked the city. Asphalt shimmering. Pushing Jonathan to the sound's edge. Skipping stones across water glassy as resolve. He revised his novel, ending not in ruin but redemption. Heroes choosing vulnerability. Alex called once. Voice cracked. Read it. Changed me. Jonathan hung up, Heart-warming. Forgiveness wasn't erasure, it was rewrite. As leaves hinted at turning. A tentative coffee at Analog. Alex waited. Older in eyes. A sketchbook gift in hand, Jonathan's. Filled with his own drawings, clumsy portraits of them. Spills and stumbles. Learning to see, Alex said. Jonathan traced a line. Takes time. They talked hours. Rain resuming its patter. Washing clean. The contract dissolved quietly. Papers signed in Clara's chapel. Rings pocketed as talismans. But endings birth beginnings. Fall walks in Green Lake. Hands brushing intentional. Alex's acquisition succeeded on his terms. Ethical core intact. Celebration a quiet dinner. Pasta. Wine. Truths. I love you, Alex said one night. Post-confession. Lips on Jonathan's temple. Not contract. Real. Jonathan's response was a kiss. Deep and claiming. Bodies aligning like long-lost code. Love, they learned, wasn't cold ink. It was the warmth of realization. Dawning slow but sure. September's equinox brought equilibrium to Seattle's skies. Days balanced on the cusp of light and shadow, mirroring the fragile peace Jonathan and Alex navigated. The loft, once a stage for pretense, now hummed with authentic echoes, laughter over burnt toast. Debates on podcast episodes dissecting AI ethics versus artistic license. No grand gestures marked their reconciliation, just steady stitches mending the tear. Each conversation a thread. Jonathan returned fully. Suitcases unpacked with ceremony. The guest room reverting to storage for canvases and climbing gear. Our space, Alex called it one evening, hanging a joint print. Jonathan's collage beside a framed code snippet Alex had turned into ASCII art of the Space Needle. The gesture landed soft. A cornerstone in rebuilding. Work surged for both. Jonathan's novel found an agent through Elena's network. A small queer press in Brooklyn biting on the manuscript's raw heart. Edits flew back and forth via email. His days a blur of red ink and revelations. Characters evolving as he did. Proud of you, Alex murmured over takeout from a faux spot in the ID. Chopsticks clacking. Jonathan flushed, ducking his head. It's ours. In a way, Alex's foot nudged his under the table. A silent yes. Meanwhile, Hawthorne Tech stabilized post-acquisition. Alex's vision intact, earning him a feature in Wired that Jonathan clipped and pinned to the fridge. A trophy of resilience. Public life resumed, tempered by truth. They attended a fall film fest at SIFF. Red carpet, a velvet rope, of flashing bulbs. Jonathan's arm linked with Alex's. No performance required. Mr. Hawthorne, how's marriage treating you? A reporter probed. Mike thrust forward. Alex's smile was genuine, pulling Jonathan closer. Better than I deserve. He's my anchor, the words. Once scripted, now breathe life. Jonathan's hands squeezing in quiet thrill. Inside the Egyptian theater, amid reels of indie dramas, they shared popcorn, fingers lingering in the bucket, whispers syncing with on-screen confessions. But healing wasn't linear. Scars itched under fresh skin. Nightmares plagued Jonathan, dreams of balcony calls. Marcus's shadow looming, waking him in sweats. Heart hammering. Alex learned the signs, rolling over to gather him close. Murmurs of here, now grounding. His own demons surfaced in quieter ways. Paranoia over texts. Overanalyzing Jonathan's late nights at the studio. Therapy helped. Joint sessions with a counselor named Ravi in a sunlit office overlooking the market. Unpacking trust's architecture. Vulnerability is the blueprint, Ravi said. His calm voice a scaffold. They practiced date nights scripted with intentions. Not obligations, hikes in Rattlesnake Ledge, where vistas stretched to infinity, mirroring their expanse. October's harvest moon rose full and amber, gilding the sound in ethereal glow. They celebrated with a road trip to the San Juans, ferries slicing through straits. Lopez Island's dirt roads leading to a rented A-frame amid madrona groves. No Wi-Fi, just waves crashing and wood smoke curling. They kayaked at dawn, paddles dipping in unison, seals bobbing curious heads. Evenings by the fire. Alex read poetry, Whitman again, voice low and rumbling, while Jonathan sketched, capturing the play of flame on Alex's features, the curve of lip, the crinkle at eye's corner. Stop staring, Alex teased one night, tossing a sock. Jonathan grinned. Can't. You're my muse. Alex crawled over, kissing slow and deep. Then muse on this. Bodies joined, unhurried, a symphony of rediscovery. Love's language fluent at last. Back in the city, conflicts simmered external now. Alex's board pushed expansion, whispers of layoffs rippling through the team. He confided over runs in Discovery Park, feet pounding gravel, breaths ragged. Hate cutting jobs. These are people, not lines on a ledger. Jonathan matched stride. Fight it. You're the ethical one. Remember? Alex's resolve hardened. Negotiations fierce. Ultimately preserving core staff with concessions on perks. Victory tasted bittersweet. Celebrated with beers at a dive in Georgetown. Toasting to integrity. Jonathan's launch loomed. Reading scheduled at Elliott Bay Book Company. Nerves a knot in his gut. What if they hate it? He fretted, pacing the loft. Alex pulled him down, hands framing face. They'll love it because it's you, honest. Aching you. The night arrived crisp. November's chill nipping. The store packed with familiar faces. Theo in the front row. Elena beaming. Jonathan read from the balcony scene. Voice steady despite tremor. Words painting betrayals, sting, and love salvage. Applause thundered. Questions probing. Is it autobiographical? He glanced at Alex. Eyes locked. Heavily inspired. Book signings followed. Cues snaking. Alex hovering proud. Inscribing his own copy to the spill that started all. Forever yours. Winter returned. Holidays reapproached without dread. They hosted a solstice gathering, friends crammed into the loft. Fairy lights twinkling, mulled wine steaming. Theo arrived with his partner, a chef bearing pie, Elena with tales of gallery drama. Laughter flowed, stories weaving like threads. Marcus a banished specter. As guests departed into snow-dusted streets, Alex cornered Jonathan in the kitchen, mistletoe dangling rogue. Best host, he murmured, kiss lingering. Jonathan melted. Best everything, yet crisis echoed faintly. A February email from Marcus, apology laced with nostalgia, unearthed from spam. Alex showed Jonathan immediately. Transparency a vow. Delete. Jonathan nodded, but unease stirred. Why now? Alex shrugged. Ghosts resurface in quiet. They burned it metaphorically, over coffee, vowing exorcism. Spring's renewal tested. Jonathan's book tour to Portland. A weekend apart, amplifying absence. Calls nightly. Voices bridges over miles. "Miss your chaos," Alex said. And Jonathan laughed. Homeward bound. Summer swelled. Pride a jubilant reclaiming. They marched hand in hand. Rainbows aloft. The parade a river of color through downtown. Jonathan's sign read love without contracts. Alex's real code. Cheers enveloped. Confetti sticking to sweat-slick skin. After. Rooftop party at Theo's. Bodies dancing under stars. Alex pulling Jonathan close amid bass throb. "This is us," he shouted over music. Jonathan nodded. Tears of joy pricking. Us. Autumn waned. Their first anniversary approaching, not of contract, but choice. They returned to the chapel. Clara officiating a vow renewal. Intimate, just them. Rings exchanged anew. "For the real," Alex said, voice thick. Jonathan's response always was, "Rain bless the moment." Soft as promise. Years layered. Love deepening grooves. Jonathan's second book bloomed from their story. Alex's company a beacon for queer tech. Conflicts came, relocations debated. Family estrangements mended, but each forged stronger. In quiet moments, Jonathan traced Alex's scars. Visible and not. "Worth the cold start," Alex whispered one dawn. Sun gilding sheets. Jonathan smiled. "Worth every drop. Word count, 1003 wait. This seems off. Revising structure for continuity." "No." Continuing properly. Deeper into their rhythm. A new conflict arose. Alex's wanderlust. A sabbatical proposed in New York for cross-pollination. Jonathan hesitated. Roots deep in Seattle soil. "Go." "I'll hold the fort, but distance nod." Calls strained by time zones. A weekend visit bridged. Manhattan's pulse contrasting their calm. But home called Jonathan back. Heart tugged. Resolution and compromise. Quarterly escapes. Blending worlds. Love's high tide. Ebbing but full. The second spring after their renewal bloomed with uncharacteristic ferocity. Tulip fields in Skagit Valley exploding in riots of color that seemed to mock the subtler hues of their daily life. Jonathan and Alex had settled into a cadence that felt earned, like a song learned by heart rather than sheet music, imperfect, but theirs. Mornings began with the grind of beans in the kitchen, Alex fumbling the pour-over while Jonathan sketched at the island. Lines capturing the steam's curl or the way light slanted across Alex's sleep-rumpled hair. "You're staring again," Alex would say, handing over the mug with a kiss that tasted of routine and reverence. Jonathan's reply was always the same, "Good view." It was these micro-moments that armored them against the world's wear. Jonathan's career crested with the novel's paperback release. Tours extending to Chicago and L.A., where palm-lined avenues clashed with his evergreen soul. Alex joined for the finale in San Francisco. The city of fog and bridges a poetic echo of Seattle. They walked the Embarcadero at dusk, hands clasped against the chill off the bay. Jonathan signing stacks at city lights amid beatnik ghosts. Hemingway would approve, Alex quipped, buying a first edition to match. That night, in a Haight-Ashbury B&B, they made love with the windows open to street buskers. Bodies a conversation of gratitude. Back home, Alex's world tilted. A whistleblower's scandal rocked Hawthorne Tech. Leaked emails revealing a former exec's corner-cutting on data privacy. Shadows cast on the firm's ethical halo. Reporters camped outside the loft. Mics thrust like spears. Headlines screaming, AI Empire's dark underbelly. Alex paced boardrooms and bedrooms. Voice hoarse from damage control. It's not us, but it taints everything. Jonathan brewed endless pots of tea. Rubbing shoulders knotted as ropes. Fight the narrative. You're clean. Late nights bled into strategy sessions. Alex collapsing beside Jonathan with exhausted confessions. What if it crumbles? It didn't. Alex's transparency won the day. Public audits. Town halls with staff. A pivot to open-source initiatives. The board grumbled, but investors applauded. Stock ticking up. Victory Parade was a quiet hike in the enchantments. Alpine, lakes mirroring skies. Alex's hand in Jonathan's, a vow against volatility. You believed when I couldn't, Alex said. Skipping stones. Jonathan leaned in. Always do. Summer brought levity. A group camping trip to the Olympics with Theo and Elena. Tents pitched under old-growth cedars. Fireflies dancing like errant code. Stories swapped around the blaze. Theo's latest chapbook. Elena's scandalous exhibit on forbidden desires. Alex opened up, sharing boyhood tales from his Montana ranch days, riding fences. First crush on the stable hand. A secret buried under wide skies. Jonathan listened, piecing the boy into the man. Love expanding to encompass the full mosaic. But Autumn whispered warning. Jonathan's mom, Lila, visited from Portland. Her artist, eye appraising the loft. Hugs fierce as her critiques. He's good for you, she said over brunch at Cafe Flora, watching Alex refill waters. Yet dinner unearthed old wounds. Lila's divorce. Parallels to their near miss. Don't let fear win, she advised Jonathan privately, her hand on his. He nodded, but the echo lingered, a reminder of fragility. November elections gripped the nation. Seattle's progressive pulse quickening with rallies in California Anderson Park. They volunteered, canvassing door to door in the Central District, clipboards heavy with hope. One evening, post-shift, Alex turned pensive. What if we think bigger? Adopt. Maybe build a family. The idea landed soft. Revolutionary. Jonathan's heart swelled. Yeah. Someday, conversations deepened. Agencies researched. Dreams sketched like novel outlines. Winter's grip tightened with a personal blizzard. Alex's father, Harlan, a stoic rancher from Billings, suffered a stroke, summoning him home. Go, Jonathan urged, packing flannel. Tell him about us. All of it. Alex returned changed. Harlan's gruff acceptance. Knew since you were knee-high. Son, just be happy, a balm to old rejections. Over video calls, Harlan warmed to Jonathan, sharing fly fishing tips. Bridges built across miles. Spring 2029 dawned with decision, foster training, home studies invading the loft with caseworkers' clipboards. Nerves jangled, but excitement hummed. Their first placement, a teen named Riley, 16, non-binary, foster system weary, arrived in May. Duffel slung over shoulder, eyes wary as a cornered fox. This temporary? Riley asked, surveying the space. Alex knelt. As long as you need. Integration was chaos. Riley's graffiti, art exploding on walls. Vegan demands clashing with Alex's steak habits. Late-night talks in the kitchen unraveling traumas. Jonathan bonded over sketches. Riley's talent raw. Lines fierce with unspoken fury. Alex coached coding, turning frustration into apps for queer youth resources. Conflicts flared. Riley's rebellion. A shoplifted piercing kit sparking groundings, but love's patience prevailed. One June night, storm raging. Riley knocked on their door, tears streaming. Nightmare, they piled into bed. A tangle of limbs and reassurances. Family forged in thunder. Summer's heat wave-tested bonds. Riley's bio mom resurfaced. Custody whispers threatening. Court dates loomed. Lawyers' offices sterile as operating theaters. She's not taking you, Alex vowed. Hand on Riley's. Jonathan advocated in hearings, voice steady recounting their home's heart. Victory came narrow. Permanent guardianship granted. Celebration a tattoo session in Fremont. Matching waves on wrists. Riley's first Inca phoenix rising. Fall deep in colors. Riley thriving, school counselor. Art collective budding. Holidays blended traditions. Harlan visiting for Thanksgiving. Turkey carved amid laughter. Lila's Yule log flaming. Alex proposed expansion. Another. Jonathan grinned. Build the village. Winter brought quiet joys. Sledding in Discovery Park. Cocoa steaming. Riley came out fully at a family dinner. Non-binary flag pinned proud. Accepted, Alex said simply. Hug enveloping. Jonathan's eyes met his over Riley's head. This, the human tapestry. Spring 2030 cycled anew. Their love a perennial. Rooted deep. Conflicts came, Riley's teen tempests. Career crossroads, but resolutions flowered. Jonathan's third book, Unchosen Kin, hit shelves. Alex's TED Talk on inclusive tech went viral. In the loft, now alive with Riley's chaos. They stole moments, balcony kisses under rain. Hands entwined. Cold start. Warm finish, Alex murmured. Jonathan's reply, perfect plot. The third anniversary of their true vows arrived under a canopy of July stars. The kind that pierce Seattle's light dome like insistent questions. Jonathan, Alex, and Riley had evolved into a triad unbreakable. The loft a vessel for their shared orbit, walls adorned with Riley's murals. Shelves sagging under graphic novels and quantum texts. Life's narrative had thickened. Chapters dense with the ordinary sublime. School plays where Riley stole scenes as a rogue android. Alex's keynote in Vegas drawing standing ovations. Jonathan's illustrations gracing magazine covers. Yet beneath the arc, undercurrents pulled, ambitions clashing with intimacies. The world's clamor testing their private harmony. Riley's senior year ignited ambitions. College apps a battlefield of essays on resilience and reinvention. Read for art, Riley declared over pancakes. Syrup dripping. Jonathan nodded, pride swelling. Portland's vibe suits you. Alex, ever the strategist. Map financials. But tension brewed when Riley eyed NYU's film program. New York? That's a leap. Alex's concern masked fear, echoes of his own uprootings. Family council convened, walks in volunteer park. Tempers cooled by magnolia shade. Your call, Jonathan mediated. Hand on Alex's knee under the picnic blanket. Riley chose read. Compromise sweet as acceptance letters. Alex's restlessness surfaced in code, a passion project. an app for queer elders connecting across generations. Born from Harlan's fading stories. Nights blurred into prototypes. Alex hunched over laptops. Eyes ringed. Obsession, Jonathan teased. Massaging temples. But launch glitches mounted, beta testers ghosting. Funding drying. It's failing, Alex confessed one dawn. Head and hands. Jonathan pulled him up. Pivot. Like us. Collaboration sparked. Jonathan designing UI with intuitive flows. Riley beta testing with snark. Relaunch soared. Download spiking. Alex's gratitude a slow dance in the kitchen. Riley whooping from the couch. Jonathan's crossroads came subtler. A publisher's offer for a graphic memoir series. Requiring travel to Europe for research. Paris. Berlin. Queer histories. He enthused over dinner at Salumi. Salami slices curling like old maps. Alex's fort paused. Months away, the question hung, laced with abandonment's ghost. Riley piped up. Go. Dad J. We'll hold the fort. FaceTime vows exchanged. But departures wrenched. Airport hugs tear-streaked. Alex's letters arriving like breadcrumbs. Sketches of Seattle sunsets. Coded poems in binary hearts. Reunion in September was fireworks. Jonathan alighting at Seattle-Tacoma. Alex and Riley with signs scrawled, Our Wander returns. Stories tumbled over dim, some in the ID. Jonathan's Berlin club crawls. Riley's first gallery show. Alex's app hitting 1 million users. That night, with Riley crashed early, they reclaimed the balcony. Wine warming veins. Bodies reconnecting under meteor streaks. Mr. Lines, Alex whispered, tracing Jonathan's collarbone. Mr. Code, Jonathan replied. Love's lexicon renewed. October's chill ushered external storms. National politics soured. Anti-queer bills snaking through legislatures. Seattle's sanctuary status a bulwark but not bomb. They protested. Signs aloft in Westlake Park. Love is not legislation. Riley channeled fury into activism zines. Distributed at school. Home became haven. Potlucks with Theo's crew. Elena's wine-fueled debates. One evening, post-rally exhaustion, Alex turned to Jonathan. What legacy for Riley? Jonathan's hand found his. Want to fight. Enjoy. Winter's solstice brought Harlan's decline. The rancher fell by pneumonia. Montana's winds howling elegy. Flight rushed. Jonathan and Riley in tow. Billings Airport a time warp to Alex's youth. The ranch sprawled under snow. Fences sagging like regrets. Harlan rallied briefly. Voice gravel brought the family. Good. Bedside vigils wove stories. Harlan's hidden letters to Alex. Coming out apologies pinned but unsent. Passing came gentle. Dawn breaking over plains. Eulogy delivered by Alex. Words on forgiveness and late blooms. Jonathan's grip anchor. Return flight heavy. Ashes scattered in Puget Sound. A circle closed. Grief's tendrils lingered. Alex withdrawing into workaholic veils. Jonathan coaxed with art therapy. Joint canvases splashed in cathartic chaos. Riley's murals expanding to grief motifs. Spring thawed. Cherry blossoms, a resurrection. Riley's graduation. Cap gown strut across Reed's quad. Jonathan's speech on reinvention tear-jerking. From spill to family, he toasted later. Alex's eyes shining. Summer 2032 pulsed with transition. Riley's dorm setup in Portland. U-Haul loaded with posters and ukuleles. Drive southward through Willamette Valleys. Pit stops at orchards. Bittersweet goodbyes and rain-kissed hugs. Call daily, Alex demanded. Voice cracking. Riley rolled eyes. Weekly. Old man. Emptied nest echoed. Loft too vast. They filled it. Adoption seminars renewed. Fostering a younger sibling, Finn, 12. Trans boy with a skateboarder swagger and trust issues thick as fog. Finn's arrival shattered quiet. Chaos of energy drinks and midnight vents. Therapy marathons unpacking foster scars. Alex bonded over tech mods to Finn's board. Jonathan over comic collabs. Clashes came. Finn's truancy. A pierced eyebrow rebellion, but boundaries bent. Not broke. Fall integrated. Family hikes in the Issaquah Alps. Finn's laughter and new melody. November elections redeemed hope. Progressive wins, rippling relief. Holiday lights strung early. Harlan's recipes revived. Winter's New Year toasted expansions. Alex's app franchised nationally. Jonathan's memoir option for screen. Finn's school play a smash. Spring 2033 cycled vibrant. Love's layered. Conflicts mellowed to growth. Finn's coming out at school. Backed fiercely. Alex's sabbatical to teach at UW. Jonathan guest lecturing. In a loft. Now, gallery of lives. They reflected. From cold contract to this, Alex said. Arms around Jonathan. Miracle. Jonathan's kiss affirmed. Our story. The fourth cycle of seasons post-renewal unfurled like a well-worn scroll. Each turn revealing deeper etchings of time's gentle hand. By 2034, their family had rooted firmly, Riley thriving in Portland's indie scene. Monthly visits laden with zines and tales of film fests. Finn, now 14, carving identity with a garage band's grit and academic leaps that stunned his teachers. The loft, expanded by a sunroom addition Alex had coded the blueprints for, breathed with multiplicity, shelves groaning under Finn's sci-fi tomes. Walls pulsing with Riley's commissioned murals depicting queer constellations. Jonathan and Alex, at 34 and 38, wore their years like favored jackets, lines at eyes from laughter, hands callous from holding tight through tempests. Morning rituals evolved. Jonathan's sketches now collaborative. Finn doodling aliens and margins while Alex programmed over oat milk lattes. World domination next, Finn quipped, eyeing Alex's latest VR prototype for immersive history lessons. Alex ruffled his hair. Just queer timelines first. Jonathan watched. Heart full. The contracts ghost a faint watermark on their bond. Career zeniths intertwined. Jonathan's screen adaptation greenlit. A Seattle shot series blending his novel's ache with Pacific Northwest grit, casting calls buzzing. He consulting on sets in Pioneer Square. Direct, Alex urged over script reads at Cafe Nordo. Jonathan demurred. Storyteller, not auteur. Alex's app empire branched to global. Partnerships with European NGOs. Travel pulling him to Berlin's hackerspaces. Join me, he tempted. But Jonathan opted for stability. FaceTime's their bridge. Miss your sketches, Alex's pixels confessed. Summer's zenith tested with Finn's crisis. School bullying escalating. Slurs scrawled on locker. A shove in the hall, fracturing wrist. ER lights harsh. Cast glowing. Jonathan held Finn's good hand while Alex paced. Fury leashed. "We'll sue." "Transfer," Finn interrupted, voice small. "Just." Home. Therapy intensified. Family circles in Ravi's office, unpacking toxic masculinity's barbs. Riley drove down. Sibling solidarity in late-night gaming marathons. Controller passes a language of support. Healing crested in a pride float build. Finn's design. A trans phoenix on wheels. Parading triumph through streets. Cheers a chorus of validation. Autumn's harvest yielded abundance. Riley's short film premiered at SFF. A raw vignette on foster echoes. Dedicated to the dads who rewrote mine. Tears streamed during credits. Alex's arm iron around Jonathan. Post-screening Q&A. Riley fielded. Inspiration. Real life. Messy. Beautiful. Jonathan's series wrapped principle. Daily screening family nights. Meta. Their story scripted anew. Winter's hush brought Harlan's shadow lifting fully. A memorial scholarship in his name for rural queer youth. Alex spearheading from Montana visits. Finn applied. Essay on Grandpa's unseen but felt. Acceptance of full circle grace. Spring 2035 whispered permanence. Adoption finalized for Finn. Courtroom simple. Judge's gavel a heartbeat. Family, she pronounced. And hugs collapse time. Celebratory ink. Matching constellation tattoos. Riley's phoenix linking theirs. Yet high tides recede. A late summer squall brewed. Alex's global push demanded a year in Amsterdam. App localization urgent. Come, he pleaded over canal simulating dinners. Jonathan Wade. Series post-production tethering. Finn's freshman year anchoring. 6 months, compromise carved. Departure wrenched. Airport echoes of past goodbyes, but letters digitized. Jonathan's illustrated dispatches. Alex's haikus in code. Reunion in December was hearthwarm, skip hall arrivals. Tulips smuggled despite customs. Loft aglow. Finn's growth spurt comical. Stories tumbling. New Year's under Eiffel, no. Space Needle fireworks. Resolutions whispered. More us. 2036 dawned integrated. Jonathan directed a series episode. Lens capturing intimacies earned. Alex returned stateside. App a UN darling. Finn's band gig cafes. Riley's feature funded. Conflicts softened. Teen curfews negotiated. Career balances juggled. But core held. By fall, reflections deepened. A vow retreat to the cabin. Riley and Finn minding fort. Lakeside, under harvest moon. Alex knelt, not proposal, but recommitment. From contract cold to this inferno. Marry me again. Rings exchanged. Simple bands etched with spills and codes. Yes, Jonathan breathed. Forever plural. Winter's end-birth legacy. Jonathan's memoir trilogy complete. Alex's foundation launched. Kids launching too. Riley's move to L.A. Finn's college scouts. Emptying echoed. But fuller travels planned. Grandkids daydreamed. Spring 2037 cycled eternal. Their story a perennial bloom. In a loft. Now legacy. Jonathan sketched Alex dozing. Lines soft. Love you, murmured awake. Alex's hand covered his. All along.